Solve the square root of 3x plus 4, subtract the square root of x plus 5 equals 1. When you're trying to solve these problems, these equations that have radicals in them, you must isolate a radical before you can solve the equation. So we should add the square root of x plus 5 to both sides of this equation so that we can isolate one of the radicals, the 3x plus 4. We now have the square root of 3x plus 4 is equal to 1 plus the square root of x plus 5. Now that one of the radicals have been isolated, we can square both sides, but on this side we have addition, so when we square it we need parentheses. We'll now have 3x plus 4 is equal to 1 plus the square root of 5, or x plus the square root of 5, sorry, times 1 plus the square root of x plus 5. Clearing parentheses, we'll have 1 plus the square root of x plus 5 plus the square root of x plus 5 plus, when we multiply a radical to itself, we just get the radicand, the thing in the inside, x plus 5. So cleaning this up, combining like terms, we have x plus 6 plus 2 square roots of x plus 5. So now we're trying to get the radical alone. To isolate the radical, we'll need to add a negative x to both sides and a negative 6. We now have 2x minus 2 is equal to 2 times the square root of x plus 5. To isolate this radical, we need to multiply by a half, but if we do it to that side, we need to do to this side as well, both sides of the equation. We now have x minus 1 is equal to the square root of x plus 5. We're ready to square both sides of the equation to clear out the radical. And when you FOIL this out, multiplying it all the way out, you'll get your x squared minus 2x plus 1. So write it out twice so you can see what you're doing. Is equal to x plus 5. So we have x on both sides of the equation. We can take away the x and take away the 5, leaving us with a 0 so that we can try and factor this problem. And let's write that answer over here at the top of the screen. We have an x squared minus 3x minus 4 is equal to 0. And that factors pretty nicely. Breaking down the first term, breaking down the last term. And the signs are different, and I want the result to be negative. So we'll have a negative 4 and a positive 1 is equal to 0. Then we can set each factor equal to 0 and solve those simple equations. And the other factor, x minus 4, is equal to 0, in which case x is equal to 4. But you don't want to give me both these answers if they don't both work into the problem. So we need to try that out. We need to see what happens when you take 3 times your answer, add 4, subtract it from the square root of your answer, plus 5. So let's first put in negative 1 and see if that works. So 3 times negative 1 is negative 3 plus 4 is 1. The square root of 1 is 1. And negative 1 plus 4, negative 1 plus 5 is 4. And the square root of 4 is 2. And 1 subtract 2 is not equal to 1. So I don't want that answer. That didn't work. This time I'm going to see if positive 4 works. It's a little tricky math here. I'll just change that negative 1 into a 4. So 3 times 4 is 12, plus 4 more is 16, and the square root of 16 is 4. Subtract. 4 plus 5 is 9. The square root of 9 is 3. Fancy math again. Change that 2 into a 3. And 4 minus 3 is indeed equal to 1. So that answer does work. So again, anytime you get answers for these problems, you want to check them in the original equation and make sure that they work. So our only answer for this problem is x equals 4.